Hi, Bob Coates here from Successful Dash Photographer. I did a blog post on my website and an Instagram post, and somebody jumped out and said, "Man, I would love to know how to do that." And basically, the thing that they wanted to know was how to extract a subject, put them into a different background, or put them into a more artistic type of rendition, that type of thing. So I'm going to give you a quick little lesson here. This guy right here, his name's Ray, and he was our local waiter at the restaurant. And I saw Ray, and I was really attracted by I caught the look of him with this split light on his face, and I just really enjoyed that, and I liked his eye contact and stuff. So I said, "Hey Ray, would you mind stopping for just a second and let me grab a frame or two?" And then I gave myself a little self exercise because I didn't really care for the background. I wanted to give it a little bit more life. So let's get to the story here. So basically what I do is I use the quick selection tool. And that's, if you don't see the quick selection tool, you'll find that it's nested right under the magic wand tool. So the quick selection tool, if you notice, there's a little plus sign in the middle of the circle there, and that basically says that whenever you put it down and pick it up, when you put it back down, it will continue to add to the selection. And basically it's looking at contrast and color, and it will work its way around and look for that kind of stuff. And basically watch what happens when, as we go here, look, it just grabs right to the edges. It looks at the edges here. It's not quite got it all the way over there. So you just keep touching. Went a little far outside the thing there. And let me go grab some of this over here, and you'll see that because these tones are so dark and so close together, that it does kind of jump out there. And then because I missed a little spot right over here, I'm going to go ahead down and hold down the Option or Alt key, depending if you're a Mac or PC, and it will do the opposite. It will subtract from the selection. So you can see very quickly, you can kind of bounce back and forth between them and get your selection cleaned up. So just work our way here. Oh, jumped a little too far. So it jumped too far. I didn't want to lose all of that. So Command Z gets me back to the last selection. Basically, when you get into that kind of a situation, just kind of pick up and put down a little more often so it doesn't do a full jump. Okay, and there's a spot where it's doing a full jump right here. So we'll take care of that when we go to next spot. So right now I'm pretty close to having the selection that I want. Once you're at this neighborhood, and you can always zoom in a little bit and check to make sure. So I'm missing a little bit of the edge of his jaw there. We jumped out of the selection into the room just a little bit. So there's a minus key holding down. That looks, need a little bit more of his ear there. These are just kind of edges. And then the thing that you can do is also just now switch tools so we can get in a little bit closer and make it easier. So I'm going to switch over to the lasso tool. And when I hold down the Shift key, you notice you get a little plus on the lasso there. And then I can go ahead and add to that selection and fill, just kind of clean up some of those little edges that didn't quite get caught by the quick selection tool. So this all looks pretty good. I think we had a little boo-boo down here in the corner. Yep. So right here, again, hold down the Option key and select the areas that you don't want to be part of the selection. And just make this little circle out there. Make that go away. Get his arm so that it looks more like his arm. And you just kind of check around the edges, make sure everything's pretty good. And I'm not going to get too crazy about the selections here, but just so you know. Now, one thing you notice that because we have such a high contrast between these areas here and this color, it kind of didn't grab this part of the tie. So back to the quick selection tool. And remember, it's already in the plus mode. So I'm just going to paint over that area there. And look, we pick up, the rest of what we need. So whenever you have a selection tool made, up at the top of your menu bar, you'll find this area here called Select and Mask. And Select and Mask brings you into a whole new window, and this is set into overlay, the red overlay. So what you see in red is gone. What you see in regular color is on. and I'm pretty happy with what I see there. It remembers the settings from before, and I had this feathered just a little bit because anytime you're making a selection to put something somewhere else, it has to have a bit of a curved edge. And if you look very carefully at your photos, you'll find that that'll help. And that's, a lot of people have problems with this, and they make their edges too sharp, and it just looks like it's cut out when you put it into a new place. So there's a bunch of tools in here where we can clean up selections if we didn't do, get a great job out of it, but I'm happy with what I've got there for the most part. And down here in your output, you say output to new layer with layer mask. And the reason I do that is because it allows me, it has a mask already made. Let's bring the layers palette over here. It already has a mask made from our selection that we just did. So with this in mind, I can now see that this edge over here is just, it's a little bit bumpy because of, where the contrast was. So I can go to my brush tool by hitting the B key. My opacity is 100%. I'm going to increase the size of the brush a little bit. And I'm just going to maybe make the brush a little smaller and zoom in just a touch. And then I can kind of clean up this area just a little bit, and I'm not going to get too crazy about my selections, but you can see how if you miss something and it didn't quite work out, you have a chance to clean up. So this needs to be a little bit sharper here. So I'm just going to, quick little clean. That's got a little edge there. Let's go check around his ears. That looks good. Could maybe be a little sharper along there. Just, again, kind of make sure everything, oh, see, we've got a little bit of stuff hanging out there, but look, we can just paint that away and get to his edge. Again, we're not going to get too crazy about the selection, but you get the idea. You can clean that up to your heart's desire. So there's a couple different ways to do that. Now that we have the subject selected, we can then bring in textures. We can put him in a different environment. So we're going to do a few of those things and play with those. So I've already pre-selected some textures. There's a place where we're going to put them. We're going to take them to Italy. But in the meantime, we're going to start with just some textures and do a little bit of kind of an artistic feel to it. So I have this image open. If I was open in Bridge, I could click and just drag the image into a file. But right now I'm just going to click and drag. And now I can, if I hold down the Shift key, that will put that image right in the middle of the palette that you have set up. Command or Control T, go ahead, and because we're using this as a texture and stuff, I'm not really worried about making sure that everything's going to stay nice and sharp. Normally, if I was resizing things like that, I would hold down the Shift key, and the Shift key would enable you to keep the aspect ratio exactly as it is. In this case, since it's a kind of a background type of thing, I'm just going to go ahead and select it. Once you have a texture selected, then we can go to the blend modes, and you find those right at the top of your layers palette. It's in this little box here. And there's another way to do it on PCs, I'm not sure, but there's a quick way to kind of cycle through the different blend modes. If we activate the Move tool by hitting the V key, Move, we can then hold down the Shift plus or minus, and it will start to step through the different blend modes, and you can see that they all have their own ways. This will be something that you'll play with and decide what you like. I'm just kind of mucking about here, and usually I'm kind of a WYSIWYG kind of guy. What I see is what I get, and that's what I'm going to be happy with. But let's see. So haven't really hit anything. I'm going to go back, run through again. I kind of like that, but it's very heavy duty. Well, let's see. I'm going to go with that for now, but I'm going to lower the opacity just a bit. But look, it lowered the opacity all the way around. So what we can do is make a copy of this by hitting Command or Control J and bringing it underneath our subject. So now we have two layers working. So we have him on a background, but I'll bring that back up, the opacity back up to 100%. So you can see our subject is here in the with the background on there. I'm going to add that little bit of texture there. It adds some depth and dimension, but it's too much on him in this particular case. So what we can do is go ahead and where we have this, remember we made a mask over here, and in order to get that selection and know that he's there again, we can take that and hit Command or Control click, and look, that selection is already made again. I can go back up here, add a whoop, let's get to the bottom here, add a layer mask to it, and it's already filled, but it's the opposite of what I want. Command I. And so you notice that inverted the mask. So you could also go up here and to select inverse, but I like to use the shortcuts because it really speeds up the workflow. So look, now I have the texture working with the texture underneath. It's working on him, but I'm going to recreate that selection again. I'm going to click again, and then I'm going to Shift Command I, invert that selection. So now he's selected, and I can gently go with the brush tool, and I'll make my brush a little bit bigger. I'm going to lower the opacity of my brush to say 20%, and I'm going to allow paint with the white to go to the opposite there, and it will only affect what I'm doing inside here. So I'm just going to add some of that tone that was on there. So I'm painting in a little bit of that yellow just to, that might be a little much, so we can reverse that just a touch. But I kind of, makes him feel like he's part of that scene. All right, Command or Control D will deselect there. And then when somebody's put into a scene like this, he looks, pretty close. He's got some edges. But one of the things we can do is we can go down here to the FX, add a little bit of a drop shadow, hit that drop shadow, and now I can put a drop shadow in there. Now, again, the drop shadow and styles will remember what you did last. Now, obviously, since the light's coming in this way, the shadow's over here, the shadow's in the wrong place. One of the nice things about working with Photoshop is we can just click and drag on the image to move our drop shadow. Now he begins to feel like he lives in this scene just a little bit more. Now, as we made that a little bit darker, we now find we end up with, I'm going to say okay to that because that kind of feels good. So we're going from dark to light to dark to light, which adds a lot of depth and dimension. And what I'm going to do is I have this selection already here. So I want to make sure I save this selection, because what I'm going to do, the defringe won't work while I'm working with the mask because it's messing on there. So I'm going to save that, go to Select, Save Selection, and that way I don't need the mask anymore. So the name of this is Ray, who's our good guy there. So the name of that selection is Ray. Now I can hold down the Command or Control key, add a new layer. By holding down the Control key, that layer appears underneath my subject, and then I can go up and I can say merge that down. That was a Command or Control E. So now when I look, let's try again on the layer, matting, remove white matte. And look at that. We just kind of cleaned up all those edges, but we added a little bit of black matte on that side. So let's try it one more time. Matting, remove black matte. And look, that cleaned up that side. So now our selection is looking much, much, much better. So we're happy with that. Looking good. Let's go move on to another thing or two. Let's grab another texture just for fun. Here's one. These textures are all from Italy, which I gather textures wherever I go. Again, I'm just going to drop that on top of the whole stack. I'm going to go V for move to make that my selection on the Mac, and hit the plus key to start to cycle through the different modes, and you can see all the different looks you can get. Now the idea is, remember, when you're working with layers and blend modes like this, you can use just parts of them. Like right there, I kind of like that, but again, it's got a little too much on him. I do like what happened in the background, so again, I'll just go ahead and add a mask. Actually, what I may do is hold down the Option key and grab this mask and stick it up here, and look, that's the exact same mask because I held down the Option key and just dragged and dropped it over there. And I'm pretty happy with that. When you want to see what your mask is doing, you can hold down the Shift key And look, it deactivates the mask. This is what it would look like if there was no mask on there, and that's what your mask is doing. If you want to see the mask itself, you can hold down the Option key. And when you hold down the Option key, this is exactly what the mask looks like. We could paint on here with black and white and gray and be able to change this mask. So you could look in here and say, oh, look, I got a little thing in there. I'm not going to worry about it. But so hold down the Option key and click on it again, and you get it back. One of the interesting things is we could take this layer down below. Once you have these things working, you can change things a lot, make a lot of cool things happen. For example, what if I inverted this? Look at this. We have a whole new color palette to work with. What if we inverted this one too, just for fun? Command or Control I. Ah, that's kind of cool. So you can see that just by working with your various pieces, you can really get a lot of different looks and effects. And, I'm very pleased with, what's happening here. Again, these are all things that, these are all personal decisions. You could decide at that point that this one is, helpful or not. I kind of like all that little bit of extra texture. I like how it gets darker and darker over there. One last thing I might do is, because I want to have a musicality here, there's a little too much light down here. Basically, we can add a soft light layer, and I have an action set up for that, but basically it takes a blank layer, turns it to soft light mode, and then when you paint with black or white or gray, as the case may be, if you're using a percentage of your tool, you will be able to dodge and burn really nicely. So in this particular case, I'm going to hit the X key to, normally when I'm dodging and burning, I want to go ahead and hit the D key for default. That will guarantee that your black and white will be your foreground and background colors. So now that we have that set, now I can go to my brush tool by hitting the B key and painting at 20% with black. I can ease down the light in there just a little bit. Maybe darken this up. And remember, I was attracted by the split light, so I'm going to change this down to 10% by hitting the 1 key. Just going to darken this side up just a little bit more to accentuate that split light look. If I wanted to push it even further, hit the X key and lighten up the other side just a little bit more. But nah, it's a little too much. But I can go in here and gently change my brush size, and I could let's go back to the darker key, and I could add some depth and dimension by changing the shadows, adding more shadow here, more shadow in here. Maybe switch it up and add some highlights over on this side, so that kind of jumps out a little bit. And one of the ways to tell what you're doing is to turn this layer off and on, and that will give you a taste. So watch what happens. So you can see we've just added some more depth and dimension, some more mystery to this, and I think that's a pretty cool thing to do. Last but not least, let's go take a look. Let's just go get on this layer, click and drag, and whoops. Okay, so the layer automatically tried to grab the top. So I'm going to turn these layers off because I just want to take Ray by himself and run him over to Italy. So we're going to, again, hold down the Shift key. That will put him in the middle. Once we have it, hold down the Command or Control key. Let's bring him down a little bit, and we'll transform him just a little bit. And I'll hold down Shift Option. That will hold the aspect ratio and bring it right to the center. Let's make Ray a little bit smaller here. Okay, we probably, let's get him down here. So kind of, you play with that to taste. Now, look at this scene. I'm going to hit the Enter or Return key to accept that transformation. Look at the light in the scene. The reason I chose this particular background was because the light's coming from the left and going to the right to the shadows, the same as my subject. That's another place where many people fail. Same thing on clouds. If you bring clouds into a scene and try and blend them together, if the light on the clouds is different than the light in the scene, then things aren't going to work. But in this case, we know the light's coming from over here because we have that shape. We have the shape here. So this kind of fits. Now, I think we got a little too much, so I'm going to go ahead and crop down. Take them down to about here. Let's make it square by holding down the Shift key. Now we've got our entire name. Let's see, down here. Yeah. So kind of happy. Let's try it again. Shift key, let's go all the way across so it's nice and clean. Use the arrow key to drop it down a little bit. Say, yep. Let's go ahead and image crop. And now Ray is at the St. Mark's area in Venice, and I gave these to him the other night, and he was real happy to see that. Hope you've enjoyed this tutorial and you got some good ideas out of it. Let me know if there's anything specific that you ever want to see and more. Again, it's successful-photographer.com. I look forward to seeing you more, and stay in touch. Bye-bye.